Call to order the City of North Pole regular council meeting. This is January 17th, 2023. We're in the City Hall chambers. And at the same time, we're recording on Zoom. We're streaming on YouTube as well. And this will be also captured on our Facebook page. Madam Clerk, would you please call the roll?
Absolutely. Mr. Keller? Absent.
Absent.
Mrs. Clock?
Here.
Mr. Kramer?
He's absent.
Mr. Skips?
Here.
Mrs. Welch? Here. Mr. Jacobson?
Here.
Mr. Mayor?
Here. Thank you. And if you'll stand and the clerk will lead us into the Pledge of Allegiance, and then Ms. Welch will follow with the invocation. So remain standing for the invocation after the pledge.
I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
You may bow your head if you so choose. Lord, we come before you tonight as council of the City of North Pole. We ask you that you guide us and lead us in figuring out exactly what this city and its citizens need the best. We ask that you also keep your hand over those who are our first responders, those who work for the city in all capacities, and all our citizens, that they may have a life of liberty and pursuit of happiness, as it says in the Constitution. And we just ask you that you're always with us and guide us in all that we do. We ask this in Jesus' name. Amen.
Please be seated. Go to item 4, an action item, our approval of the agenda on pages 1 to 2.
Move to approve the agenda of January 17th, 2023.
There's a motion to approve the agenda by Jacobson.
Second Skips.
Second by Skips.
Move to amend the agenda by putting action items unfinished business 11A, 23-01, an ordinance of the City of North Pole amending the user fee to the consent agenda. Same with item B, ordinance 22-02, an ordinance of the City of North Pole amending the professional development step salary increases for the City of North Pole employees. And also to move to consent, ordinance 2303, an ordinance of the City of North Pole amending Title 13, Public Services Utility Rates for 2023.
Second.
There's the motion to amend by Jacobson, seconded by Welch. Any discussion of that? Seeing no discussion on the amendment, Madam Clerk, call the roll.
Okay. Mrs. Welch?
Yes.
Mr. Skips?
Yes.
Mr. Jacobson?
Yes.
Mrs. Clock?
Yes.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes. Does anyone wish to change their vote? And I see none. So now, Madam Clerk, can you call the question on the amended?
Yes. Mrs. Clock?
Yes.
Mr. Jacobson?
Yes.
Mrs. Welch?
Yes.
Mr. Skips?
Yes.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes. Anyone wish to change their vote? I see none. So as amended, we have our agenda. We go to item 5, approval of the minutes from January 4th. You can find those on pages 3 through 9. Would you bring those up, Madam Clerk? This is an action item for the approval of the minutes on pages 3 through 9. I have a motion.
Move to approve the minutes
Second.
of January 4th.
Jacobson approves the minutes for January 4th, and Clack, is it Ms. Clack? Clack is approving, seconding it. Is there any corrections that necessarily need to be made? You see any corrections? Madam Clerk, I see no corrections being discussed, so would you call the roll?
Okay. Mr. Skips?
Yes.
Mr. Jacobson?
Yes.
Mrs. Clock?
Yes.
Mrs. Welch?
Yes.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes. Anyone wish to change your vote? I see none. Therefore, the minutes are approved. Thank you very much. We go to communications from the mayor, and the first thing we start out with is our student of the month. Who's here for student of the month here? Okay. Mervin? Are you the student of the month there? Thanks. We're gonna do a proclamation, so. Is it Pangillian?
I try it.
Try it. Tell me.
So it's.
Pangolinian?
There.
Pangolinian.
Hey,
Okay, very good. Actually, Mr. Skips tutored me on that before, but I wanted to make sure. So this is from the office of the mayor of the city of North Pole. If you'd like to come forward to the microphone here, and I'll discuss this. Whereas Mervin Pangilian is a senior at North Pole High School and is the son of Mario and Lillian Pangilian, and whereas Mervin is involved in football, track and field, the CNA program, and is an ignition mentor. And whereas Mervin spends his time volunteering at the North Pole Senior Center, lunches, reading with the North Pole elementary students, and teaching computer coding to students at Discovery Peak. And whereas Mervin was recognized as the first team all-conference defensive lineman and the second all-state defensive lineman, and whereas the city of North Pole would desire to recognize outstanding students in the community, therefore I, Michael W. Welch, Mayor of the city of North Pole, do hereby proclaim Mervin Pangilian as the North Pole City Council High School Student of the Month for January 2023. Congratulations. Come on up. So before I adorn you with this nice medal here, I'd ask you, what is the different things here that we're talking about as far as the different organizations you're in?
you said again, sir.
Yeah, what's your organizations that you're in that you're talking that you're part of?
CNA.
CNA and things like that.
So CNA, Certified Nursing Assistant.
Mm-hmm.
I'm taking that class right now, try to get my certification. So maybe that can be a job after high school. Football, my favorite, my favorite sport.
What role in defense do you play?
Play D-line.
Huh?
D-line.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, I was a linebacker. I love defense. So I just kind of curious about that. What's the ignition mentor?
Initial mentor. So there's a bunch of students that volunteer to help the new freshmen or new students around the school. And it's a really good thing that North Pole does. And Mr. Slagle, he started the program, and he's a really good teacher, and he allows these new students to have like a new place, and because they're coming into a new high school, it's very scary, and he helps everything, and it's a good place to be. And the Ignition mentor program helps that.
What kind of computer coding are you helping at? Discovery Peak? What coding is that?
JavaScript.
Oh, you like that?
Yeah.
How many students do you have?
For there's a whole class of us, and we volunteered to go help students at Discovery Peaks do some coding, right? And games like Minecraft, have you heard of that?
Yeah, sure have.
Minecraft, yeah. We coded like mini games and like that. So yeah, it was pretty awesome, and we got to teach them like a little basic of coding and see if they could explore that in their career.
Okay. Well, that's the lamp of wisdom there, so we're gonna give you that as you continue on. You're gonna be prepared to go to college one day. Well, congratulations, and let the council congratulate you as you go around.
Congratulations. Thank you.
Congratulations, Mervin, and all that you do.
Congratulations. Thank you.
Yeah, Mervin, keep up the good work.
Would you like the proclamation there? Here you go.
Danny, we
Sure,
need
your
a
mom and
picture
dad
with him holding it.
Where's your mom and dad at there?
There you go.
Hi.
There you
You
go.
want to come up and have
Coming
your
up.
picture taken with
Yeah.
the mayor and
Way to go. Michael, put your hand down.
Thank you very much. Thanks for raising a good son. Okay, to keep things going along, we're going to put in under communications from the mayor. We have with us Howard Rixey is in the audience from North Pole Community Chamber of Commerce. He has a request for the council to consider. Howard, you got the microphone there.
All righty, thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate the time there. So again, I'm Howard Rixey from the North Pole Community Chamber of Commerce here, and I just wanted to follow up. I sent all of y'all an email on January 6th, and I wanted to give you an update on the initiative to build the new Welcome Center in North Pole. So one of the things is we were working with Design Alaska, and they were able to draft our master site plan. And so I wanted to forward that to you so you can see what's going on. Along with that, we made some modifications, so they are going to modify it there, but it's just minor modifications, nothing of real significance there. They have transitioned into working on the building plans for us there, so that'd be the case there. We're continuing to our fundraising efforts, again, just as a reminder. So we're trying to raise approximately $600,000 for this particular project. 500,000 in cash and 100,000 in in-kind services like 40 hours of carpentry work or whatever the case may be on that case there. So to date, we've raised about $125,000. So we're continuing on. We'll go there. We're still dead set on starting ground prep in April and starting actual construction in May, with hoping to have the foundation laid by the end of May and construct wall construction starting in June. So we've been working with Eric Lancer from Lancer Builders. He's kind of come on board to be the designated general contractor, what have you. The main thing I wanted to share with you is so in late December, we had an opportunity to brief the interior delegation about the initiative, and they were all very supportive of it. And I really wanted to, again, reiterate how this differs from the old cabin, because the cabin was a visitor center, and that's what it was the gateway for visitors, and we're calling it a welcome center. And really, we've been really tossing and turning about even that name because it doesn't capture it. And I think a more appropriate name is a welcome services center, because if you can imagine a young married military couple walking into that facility, there's going to be a place there for learning about childcare, about churches, about jobs, about housing, about our heritage, and whatnot there. So it's far beyond just a welcome center or a visitor center. So, and that's what really makes this project so meaningful to the city. So the delegation really was highly supportive of the project there. And so they asked, well, how can we help? And of course, the biggest thing is help with money. And what they suggested was pursuing a CAPSIS project. And one of the things that they said that would be needed in support of such a thing was a letter from the city saying, based on our master site plan, you didn't foresee any problems with us constructing what we were wanting to construct and where we wanted to construct it and how we wanted to construct it. So that's one of the, and they also wanted the same thing from the rural planning commission there. So that's what we're asking you as an action item there to take on, is providing us, the North Pole Chamber, a letter of support in support of a CAPSIS project for the purposes of supporting the Welcome Center. So, those are the big things I have with you there. If you have any questions, I'll be glad to answer those.
Howard, I would ask you first before I go to the council, are you familiar with the format to get things in the CAPSIS system? It opened about 10 days ago.
To be quite frank there, I didn't know what CAPSIS meant. When I was in the meeting there, I actually had to go out on the web and figure out what the heck it was.
Yes.
So I was just happy that they said there was a potential opportunity out there. So
Yeah, so that's the capital request for monies that
Right.
go through the legislature, and or you could even go to the governor and ask him to put it in his budget if
Right.
you wanted to. But there's like parameters for what you can and cannot put in the CAPSIS system. So basically, you want a letter of support from us saying that we're four square behind that. And I'll let anyone on the council ask you questions or if they have any concerns. Councilman Jacobson's first. Go ahead, Jeff.
Yes, thank you. Howard, I really love the idea of changing the name to the Welcome Services Center, and I think you should move forward with that. I think that encapsulates that people can go there and be helped rather than just be welcomed to the community.
Yep.
That's the place to find information. So I love that change in title. From the initial paperwork that you sent us, has the size of the building changed? At one point it was 20 by 28, and I personally thought it was kind of tight. So I don't know if that has changed.
Oh,
at all.
it's changed significantly. Again, that's what this model was all about, was based on a 20 by 20 cabin, similar to the West Madden cabin next to Santa Claus House there. But when we talked about all of the things we want to do and our ability to do it in that facility, we were underselling ourselves. So we agreed that we were pursuing a 2,300 square foot single story building there. And in my email that I sent to you guys on the 6th of January, it actually has a layout of it. I do have a couple of hard copies if you want to look at it.
Yeah, I was looking for that at home, and I saw the email,
Okay.
but I must not have.
I have 3 copies, so.
I'd like one because I can't access my.
Yeah, and that was
Thank
my
you.
problem.
Oh, I like that.
Much larger,
I like that.
more contemporary.
Very
Yes, and again, our approach to building this here was we're trying to be, I don't want to say green, but I guess that's the closest word we can capture it. We want to be to capture all of the energy efficient technologies out there. We're going to have radiant floor heating. We're going to tie into the natural gas. We've approached the RES about potentially having some solar panels out there. We're going to have radiant heat on the sidewalk for ADA compliance, and eliminating the snow shoveling and whatnot there. Anyways, so all those things there, along with we're working with Pan Alaska. So they have a light metal gauge panel with foam in it there. It is not a SIP panel, but it's very similar to it. It'll give us 12-inch walls that are R50. So our exterior walls and our ceiling are in the thing will be R50. So we're trying to be as again, as efficient as possible on this here. And our hope is, with all the home construction things that are on the horizon here, that people will be able to come in and see that technology and transfer it to their construction plans in those residents there. So it's just our way of advocating for the environment, I guess. So.
I'll have a question for you. Mark Sherman
Yes, sir.
from
Pan Alaska.
Pan Alaska, and also that was on Friday. He contacted me, and then Glenn Brady backed me up Sunday. Are you aware of the little snag they may be having in that under the Uniform Building Code, UBC?
Very aware of it. So
Yeah.
design. So we've Pan Alaska, which Mark Sherman, Glenn Brady, they are all of the they are that company, and they are the ones with the panels. So Design Alaska is building the building designs using SIP panels, 12-inch SIP panels, and then Pan Alaska will offer that as their panels as a substitute.
Okay,
So, and then obviously the city will have to sign off on that substitute.
right. I just
So-
wanted you to
No,
know that
well
I'm
aware of it
aware of
there.
it. So,
Could
Yeah.
you explain that all over again? I got lost.
How best can I do this? So the new panels that the Pan Alaska is building, so they haven't had a third-party certification, if you would. And so Design Alaska, when they sign off on the building designs there, they're not willing to sign on that dotted line there for that technology, even though they have engineers that have certified on it, just not the IBC or whatever it is certification on it there.
So those are for the solar panels?
No, those are for the wall panels and the roof. And so that's it's a 12, if you can imagine a 12-inch panel that's 4 foot wide, 10 foot tall, and 12 inches thick, all made out of light gauge. Think of it as light gauge 2x4s, if you would. And then it's all sealed with styrofoam, sealed styrofoam that's heated to conform to that panel. It weighs about 135 pounds. And it's an R50 factor there. So literally, and literally two people can set it in place, and with 2 screw guns connected to the next one. I mean, they say they'd be able to erect our walls within 3 days.
like
I'd
putting
love to
Legos.
watch that.
Yeah, it's kind of like Legos or erector set, if you would. Yeah. That's the most simplest way to say it there, but it's great technology. And again, we want to capture that technology, actually have an exposed wall or joints in the wall there and the interior, showing that technology. So construction companies or whatnot can come in and see it. So
Sounds like it's similar to the foundation. Knox blocks or something similar. I can't remember what it's called, but they're basically made out of styrofoam and you put rebar or cement in it and
Yeah, I'm not the expert on that there, but it's closer to SIP panels. SIP panels are basically 2x4 or plywood with foam sandwiched between them. So,
This is aluminum.
but this is the far more rigid and whatnot there. So again, I'm not the technical expert on it there. But they have had all of their mechanical engineers and whatnot do third-party tests on it there. It's just not under the IBC rules.
And I'll remind you, Jeff, that those things were presented to us about almost 3 months ago. So I'll get you pictures of that again if you need to show you what it
Yeah.
looks like.
Yeah, and even more on that there. So Pan Alaska is building what they're calling a mini house for the upcoming home show on March 24th, and they'll have that on display there. So something to look forward to.
And also we'll be invited to go up to Fox at the end of February when they unveil what they're doing. They did it for the Interior Mayor's Conference, middle of November, when David Van Holder was here. If you remember when he was here in the chambers, that's part of this whole issue is that we're putting all this together at the same time. So Mrs. Welch has a concern there, Howard.
Not so much a concern. I like the idea about putting our local businesses to work. Plus also it's going to get us a lot less money per square foot because their system is a lot easier to put up. I have had my hands on those panels and I can tell you it's pretty easy. What I like about it also is that they can also, if you decide all of a sudden you need more space in the back, you go in, you take your outside panels off, you unscrew your little screws, and you take that panel and you swing it out and you add a few more and put another roof part over it. And it's pretty much the new Alaska Grow Cabin. So
It can be, yeah. I'm not the technical expert on it, but it is pretty impressive as far as technology goes. And I think it will totally change the paradigm on building houses, especially when you get an R50 factor on it. So
what is that called again?
Pan Alaska.
No.
Oh, it's a light Arctic panel. Arctic light panels.
Structural modular system, SMS.
Yeah.
Arctic Light SMS.
And the mayor's got flyers in his office. So
I've got flyers, but they can build up to 5 stories tall.
yeah.
The mayor, are you looking for us to make a motion to
Yeah, I am.
authorize?
I if y'all will support this, I'll make sure a letter's written. If someone make a motion.
Move to authorize the mayor to write a letter of support for the Welcome Services Center project.
I second. Clack.
You want to call the question, Madam Clerk? You're sitting over there. I don't know if you can hear us. I'll need to, yeah.
Okay, Mrs. Welch,
yes.
Mr. Skips,
Yes.
Mr. Jacobson,
Yes.
Mrs. Clock,
Yeah.
Mr. Mayor.
Yes. I don't believe anyone wants to change their vote. That's unanimous. And when do you need it? By February 2nd or so?
That would be great.
All right. Very
Yep.
good. That's
Thank you very much.
Groundhog Day.
All right. Thank
All
you.
right. Thank you, sir. Appreciate that.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes,
So when you write that letter, can we be added as sponsors to
sure.
that?
Everybody who wants to, you want
Yes,
to?
sir.
Yeah, we'll add you as sponsors. That way they'll know that we're foursquare behind that. Okay? Thank you. Let me go to continuing communications from the mayor. I'll say that what I have coming up that I have been involved with is in preparation, Senator Murkowski will be in town tomorrow. And I've been working with some of these engineers to try to get her attention that we probably need some help of how we need what they call congressional delegated spending. We used to call those earmarks, how we might need some of that in reference to getting some monies to help us in the further development of the south end of our city. And she was on ANPR radio this morning, and she's currently down in Anchorage, but tomorrow she'll be up here. So I'm trying to get in touch with her so that she'll understand that the city will probably come for a request to help us get congressional delegated spending to help with the south end of our city to develop it further so that it's more digestible. I think the things that we're struggling with are three or fourfold. Mostly the people are all competing against each other for the same finite number of construction workers. The supply chain and the cost of money are really, really hurting. Those of us who were with General Wilsbach back on January 3rd knew that he put out to us that they may have no choice, but at some point, if we can't pull it in this whole community to build what they need, he may have to build some things on Eielson Air Force Base. He'd prefer not to. He'd prefer to see us do that. But the time frame that we have to do it in is very difficult for entrepreneurs to go out and do. It is very difficult and under this rising cost of interest rates and all the things that we're trying to do. So with that in mind, that's on the top of my list. I am preparing to go next month down to Juneau for the legislative week. I'll probably get in there on President's Day on the travel down probably on the 20th of February, if not then early morning, the 21st. What's that? What was that noise?
Nothing.
Oh, 21st of February, I'll travel down and I know that Danny Wallace, our Director of City Services, will go with me. I did ask our Pro Tem Jeff Jacobson if he would like to go as well. Yeah, that's an important thing where we go and actually meet members of the legislature. You can also meet the governor and lieutenant governor if necessary. And that is how we get our legislative priorities, all four of those put together. And that's part of us getting it into the CAPSA system, which I'm sure the clerk will brief us on when she gets to her role here later. So that's really on top of my list, is to make sure we're prepared to go. And if you could use a better term, I'd say lobby the members of the legislature for what the city of North Pole is looking for. And does anyone need a referral to what those four legislative priorities are? Let me know right now. I know what they are. We can go back through those. Those are very intense. Everything from what our fire department needs for a future fire station, what the water system and sewer system in this city needs, what we need as far as a shooting range for not just the city of North Pole, but all of public safety up here, to have a real shooting range, not shooting in a gravel bar somewhere. And also what I would like to see us get in referral to building the homes up here. So those are legislative priorities. So that's part of the ACOM AML that week in February. And we have till this Friday to choose to register with AML for that, as well as make our arrangements with the Baranoff Hotel and with Alaska Airlines. If you're going by air, the only way I know to get there is by air. Remember, there is a special rate that we can use for this whole month for when we go. It's called constituent fare. It's 30% off. I don't know how that plays into our air miles, but I guess you use 30% less air miles. So I do think that we should be prepared for that. That's top of my list. And with that, I'll ask item 7. Are there any council member questions of the mayor? Yes, Mr. Jacobson.
Yeah,
Go.
I'm appreciate the invitation to attend AML with you and Mr. Wallace. I'm looking forward to bringing the needs of the city to the attention of our legislature. And so I was going to ask you when Senator Murkowski is here, if you would also kind of maybe plant the seeds of our need for the water replacement system that's going to be it's hanging over our head, and also the new fire station to accommodate our growing fire force when you said digestible southern part of our city, I'm thinking it's like the Brookside subdivision, that
Yes.
area.
Yes, sir.
Uh, where where are we at, Willis, with like the greenhouse power and heat plant? Is that something we want to include in our?
That's part of it. That is definitely a big part of it. Yes, I just don't keep reiterating it, but I can if you like. I will now if you'd like. Because Danny Wallace and I are dealing with two different grant writers. There's one that is based, well, she's based out of Anchorage, but she's more like in Oregon. But there's another company, it's called Two Bears Environmental Consulting, nothing to do with Three Bears, but it's called Two Bears. And they have had a Zoom meeting with us and they sent us their contract language. We're not committed to them yet, but they are sending their project manager up February 13th to meet with us to discuss that. We are actually taking every one of those legislative requests, and we already built it into our budget to have grant writers to help us get the grants, which is why I would turn to Senator Murkowski. And for that matter, Mary Patola, Congresswoman Patola. And I understand that Senator Sullivan is not really one of those that's for earmarks or that, but we'll still turn to him at any rate, so they'll be aware of it. But so we have been, it's been taking an inordinate amount of time to put all that together. But these are some of the fruits of being down at AML in September, as well as here in December. So these are carry-ons from what we've been exploring. So that's what I say to develop the south end of our city. I think we're going to need some congressional delegated spending, and we're going to need some grants. The grants are like part of the bipartisan infrastructure law. And we are under the idea that a lot of what would have had expired in October is now extended to the end of March. So we don't have but a short window of time to put in for it. And we're competing with everyone else when we do compete. But problematic is that what we understand is a lot of this money will not be available to us till well after July. So that's one reason to ask for some congressional delegated spending that could maybe help in the way of water and sewer in Brookside Park, so that we don't have to wait more than a year down the road. It's very, very frustrating at most to try to get this stuff done. Any other questions? Okay, I see none. Thank you.
Excuse me?
Yes,
Yeah, there was.
I didn't see your hand up.
Okay. The question is, when are you going in February to the legislation?
I believe I'll leave no later than February 21st,
21st?
but I think I might leave February 20th on the holiday
Okay. And
because
then your conversation with Murkowski, hopefully,
I don't know when that is, but I don't think it'll be tomorrow. I just know she'll be up here tomorrow, but
okay,
that's an ongoing thing with her.
okay,
It may also require during spring break, if she comes up here, to be able to do that with her delegation. Yeah.
okay.
She may very well come to that legislative week. She's been known to do that down in Juneau. That may very well be when I do get to see her.
Right.
Yeah, but I've seen her twice a year minimum in
Okay.
the last 3 years. So,
Okay.
yeah. Okay, thank you very much. Now we have time for citizens' comments. These are limited to 5 minutes per citizen for items not on the agenda. Madam Clerk, do we have any citizens?
No, we don't.
Okay, so citizens' comments are closed. Item 9, we go to communications from department heads. So we'll start out with Ms. Fogarty from accounting. Thank you, Tricia.
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
Good evening.
This last week, we were in our department, we're working on year-end things, and Friday we were able to upload. Can you see and hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. We were able to upload the 2023 budget in our Tyler system. And also, Michelle was able to issue W-2s, and I think you were supplied with them tonight. I didn't send out financials because we had a problem with a credit card batch, came in on 12/29 and got posted to 12/29/2023. We got that finally fixed in Cassell on Friday, and then Michelle will finish up doing the bank rec. Once that's done, I will send out the financials and the updated revenue and interest sheet I have been sharing with you. We did receive a contract for consulting services with Altman and Rogers. The mayor is currently reviewing that contract. And I will skip down to the next one. Too bad that Councilman Keller is not here tonight, but I will send him an email. But I had got an email from him, I want to say around November, asking questions about sales tax. And one particular question was about purchasing gift cards at Safeway. So I personally did a purchase of just a gift card, that's all. And I was not charged sales tax on it. So say the gift card was to Taco Bell. And so I didn't get charged on the purchase of the gift card, but if you used it at North Pole Taco Bell, I'm sure you would have got charged on it. And then finally, I'll be on vacation for the first meeting in February, and Michelle will be sitting in for me. She's not a big fan of public speaking, and it does take some getting used to, and I just ask you to kind of tread lightly on her. I don't want to scare her off. I want her to be here when I get back from vacation.
So what dates are those?
The vacation,
Yes.
I'm leaving on the 3rd, and I'll be back on the 15th
Of February.
of February.
Who's carrying your bags?
I hear they have a bag service, but
Big
from
break.
Alaska to Florida, it was $200 for a small bag.
Yeah.
Wow.
Any questions for Trish?
No?
Okay, I don't see any. Thank you,
All right,
Trish, for
thank
your
you.
report.
Member of the 49.
Say again?
Oh, I am. No, what I was trying to say is the cruise line will pick up from your door and deliver it to your cabin, and pick it up from your cabin and deliver it back to your door. So you don't have to go through the airport with your bags. But for $200 for a small bag, I'd rather just use my own.
I would figure for a free cruise, I'd carry it for you. Who's next? Let's see. Danny Wallace, our Director of City Services. Danny?
Hello, everyone.
Hello.
Notes from the different departments follow. For the building department, we now have signed contracts from both of our building inspectors, Charlie Jeanette and Vince Merlot. And there has been work at the Thai restaurant. Many of you have seen that. And just to assure everyone that the proper permits are in place, and it will get inspected when they get finished. So everything's in place for that. And that's on the right glide path. For Public Works, snowpack removal, hardpack removal was finished yesterday, and we both the Public Works and our contractor, Hubbard Construction, worked much of the weekend to do that. So actually, some of our folks were actually out hand shoveling a couple of areas that they couldn't get to with the equipment. And we did have a few minor complaints about snow plowing, but based on our staffing, we're actually able to get after those. So the increase of one part-time addition to our Public Works crew last year has actually been able to make us a little more responsive, and certainly the weather has been cooperative. One other thing, Crowley Fuels has assumed the heating oil contract, and they did start deliveries last week, and that seems to be going well. So we've got a new contract in place, and they are actually delivering the heating oil throughout for the city facilities. For utilities, we didn't have any significant utilities events over the holiday weekend. And utility rate increases did go out with this month's bills, and they'll also get at least a notification for the utility rate increase goes out went out this month and will go out next month. And Mr. Jacobson has a copy of that. It doesn't take effect till March 1st, but we are giving adequate notification to the customers. Ms. Welch, you asked about water meter replacements during the last meeting, and there is some potential options for that. I'll bring that to the next meeting and brief everyone. I need to talk to the mayor about some of those options for water meter replacement throughout the city. And then last week, I mentioned this previously that we did have the first working group discussion on ways to mitigate the chronic funding shortages for sewer utilities. The group included the mayor, Mr. Trissel, Ms. Swanson, Ms. Fogarty, and myself, and we identified 6 potential options for the city, and we'll flesh those out in our next meeting. But hopefully they'll result in some workable options. But we are looking at that. We're taking it very seriously, and I think we're going to have a useful way ahead by the time we get through the process. For Moose Creek, the next major task for this effort is the installation of updated water meter antennas. They were initially on the AT&T network, and the new antennas have to be on the Verizon network for to ensure that we can accurately measure the water and we can bill for the water. And that may, again, if we get better at our billing, that may actually address some of our other deficit or some of our other funding issues, which we don't have sewer service out there. But again, the more money we can collect on the water side makes it better for that enterprise system. And then only one other item, Paul Trissel, who is our utility supervisor, he's on leave this week. And that's all I have, subject to questions from the council.
Yes, Danny, I have some questions first. When you're talking about the restaurants, do we know what's going on with 2 in this town? Taco King? Do you have any idea what's going on?
We have not gotten an update on Taco King, and that one I haven't had anyone talking to us about. It's construction work going on inside that we've noticed. Like I said, we have seen reports actually via social media of the Thai restaurant having activity, but nothing so far from Taco King.
And what about Subway?
I haven't gotten anything from Subway, but I can check on that one.
Okay, is it? Yeah, because they've been closed for a while now. Taco King, we had understood was going to open 1st of December, so we're almost to 1st of February, and I don't really know what's going on over there. How many snow plowings have we done this year in the new year?
In the new year, it's been the hard pack removal.
That's it.
Right.
Right. We're
So
lucky
far.
so far.
Right.
Yeah, that's night and day difference from last year. And I guess I'd ask you to explain to the council what you expect to get out of going down to the AML, the legislative week.
Again, as one of the newer members on the staff, again, started just in May last year. I have not been exposed to the process, the funding process, the interaction between the city and the state and the legislative representatives. For me, it'll be, again, a very good experience to understand the processes of how we interact again with the state, how we get our funds from the state. And again, the interrelationships between all of those different pieces and parts. So again, very, very educational for me as a relative newcomer to this organization.
And questions or concerns for Danny? Mr. Jacobson's first.
Yes, thank you. So you mentioned the Thai restaurant close to opening, which is great. We also have another.
And Mr. J, just to be clear, I don't know the timeline for their opening, so I don't know if it's close. We've just seen activity inside the building, so I don't know if we're on the cusp of it or if it's going to be a couple more months. So,
nope. That's fine. Thank you for that clarification. But we have also another restaurant in the mall, Saigon Gardens, and on their flyer it says opening February 23rd. Are you tracking that through their building permits?
They are on track. We did see even traffic today about some additional inspections that are going on, but we've no issues with that. I know that they've been moving furniture in that location and some of the other activities have been going on, but that is getting inspected per their schedule, and we haven't seen any red flags that have come up with that.
Great. And I know that you'd mentioned before that Pizza Hut was shutting down and moving into a takeout or delivery service only in the mall. Is that something similar maybe happening with Subway, or are they just out?
I am not sure. And just to clarify on pizza, I don't know anything about Pizza Hut shutting down. I know that they're standing up a small or some sort of small restaurant and service in the mall, but I don't know about their current location and the future plans for that. I really don't know about Subway, and that's a great question, and I'll dig into that. But right now I don't know. I don't have anything else about
Tell
Subway.
you what I do know about Subway. One of their employees kind of blew the whistle. They had mold all over the place, and the health inspector came in, and that's why they're closed.
Ooh,
It's been closed for more than 2 months now. Yeah. So. Anything else for Danny?
Other than, I don't know if I've given this to you before, it's called New Flow Technology. It's where you can insert a foam slip liner. I think of that one when we have some of our water pipes that are just so deteriorated. I would just wanted to give that to you. There's multiple companies that do that, but when you have to do an emergency repair, this might be a cheap way to kind of extend the life of that pipe until it can be completely replaced.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Thank you, Danny. I appreciate it. That will leave Chief Heineken, if you come up, please, sir, from our fire department.
Good evening, Mayor, Council.
Evening.
Hi, Chief.
Just a couple things from the fire department. So as I'd reported last December, that we had just had our firefighter one academy test December 3rd, big class. Well, we do those classes annually, usually in the fall, just like that class was. And we had made the decision with talking with our partners that we wanted to move our academy into the spring. That way they're testing in fairer weather, because sometimes it's 20, 30 below when they're testing. It's a lot of time outside for students. So we had planned on next year moving it into the spring. And then after talking with CTC, who's our largest partner in that academy, they had a real need and had students already to start a spring academy this year. So with North Pole, North Star Volunteer Fire Department, and CTC, tonight is the first night of the next academy. They're at the station as we speak. It's sounded like we had about a 16 to 18 student class, two of which are from our department, a handful from North Star, and then the majority is CTC students. So we're really happy to be able to, we really quickly rebounded, reset, and put the ball back into motion, and then have that academy going. So kind of a year ahead of what we thought we were going to be doing with that. So the next thing is our newest employee started yesterday. So Lieutenant Robert Dobson come to us, and we're really glad to have him here with us at North Pole now. He actually was from this area. He originally started in the emergency services in this area. He was a volunteer with the North Star Fire Department next door. He was a student firefighter with the university, and also, I believe he started his career truly at Airport Police and Fire before he went south for a while with his family. Well, when we opened up the lieutenant position, he applied and expressed his family's desire to come back to town. They have family here. They're fairly rooted here, so they're excited to be back here in town. And we're really excited to have him with us. So his very first shift, they ended up out on a structure fire last night. Was a small fire, not much, but you know, we always harass the new guys if they get a fire on their first shift. You know, it doesn't happen that often, but it does happen. So the other next thing is I will not be in attendance for the next council meeting. I will be on vacation. I'll be in Puerto Rico with my wife and her family. So I'd love to report to you from there, but I probably won't be able to. And then I usually would have Assistant Chief Chambers attend in my absence, but just by chance, the Alaska State Fire Chiefs has scheduled their Leadership Summit Conference in Juneau for that week. So I'm sending AC Chambers to Juneau that week to attend the conference in my absence, and he'll be able to, you know, get up onto the Hill, talk with some of our legislators, and attend that in my absence as well. So he will not be available. So I don't think we'll have a representative at the next meeting, but I will be available via phone, via email during my entire absence. So if there's anything any of you need, feel free to reach out to me, text, call, email. And with that, I can take any questions.
Chief, where are you going to in Puerto Rico?
You know, I'm along for the ride. You'd have to ask my wife. I'm getting on the plane and going where I'm told.
How long will you be there?
We'll be there for just over a week. I think we'll leave the 3rd and come back the 10th.
I've had some fond memories of Puerto Rico. I've had a good time when I was in the Air Force there. It's a really good back on the west coast called Punta Barincan, Point Barincan.
Yeah, the only time I've been there, we had a stopover on a cruise ship. And yeah, it seemed like an enjoyable place. So that's kind of what we've done is we've pinpointed some of the places that we've cruised to in the past, and you just don't get enough time off those cruise ships to enjoy it. So we're kind of going back to places that we want to go to. So this was on our bucket list.
Well, the Air Force put me on the list there, and it was an old base that's no longer, they still call it Ramey. It was Ramey Air Force Base at the time. The Coast Guard actually runs a place now, and they have an extension, the university there. It's really nice thing out on the west getting out of Zawan. But I've been all over Puerto Rico too. So hope you get to take a baseball game in.
We'll see.
Yeah. Got a question, in far as, the legislative priority. Do you have anything special you want of our team when we go down there in Juneau in the latter part of February?
You know,
Because I'm not sure you'll be back in time to talk to me about it.
yeah, I believe I'll be back in time before you leave for Juneau. So I'll definitely want to get with you, and it'll be an advantageous time because Chief Chambers will be returning from Juneau around the 10th. And, and he will have already kind of, set some of that ball in motion as to what the fire department's priorities are there. And yeah, that week before you go, we should probably get together and.
Sure. Are you here February 14th?
Yes. Yes.
Okay, so we do have February 13 and 14, someone from Two Bears Environmental Consulting to come to talk. And I want you to kind of weigh in on them for grant writing for your department,
Definitely.
because I think that's how we're going to get it done. Thank you. Who's got questions for the chief? Mr. Jacobson does.
At our last council meeting, you had encouraged citizens to adopt a hydrant and clear it of snow, which I did. And I was really happy when we did the hard pack snow removal that the company that we hired maintained that clearing of the hydrant and also of my mailbox. So that was an extra bonus to have that space opened up even more so by our contractor.
Great. Yes. And we recommend everybody do that if you have a hydrant near your house.
Mrs. Welch has her hand up.
Yeah, I don't have any hydrants right next to me for me to adopt. But I've noticed that a lot of places used to have these flags on it like that, but a lot of the fire hydrants I've seen out there don't have them. And I'm just curious why that is, or were they removed? I know there was one right by the Hotel North Pole that had one. And the reason I know about that is that it used to have a geocache involved with it. So I'm just curious what happened to those.
Usually they come up broken. It's from my experience. Sometimes the snow hitting them, sometimes just from use of when we test them. You kind of have to work around them and bend them out of the way as you're opening the hydrants. We usually try to flag them and get with utilities and get those replaced as quickly as we can. So yeah, we'll make a mental note and take a look at the hydrants when we're shoveling next to see which ones need flags. Thank you.
Yes, Mr. Skips has a question.
Yeah, I saw you had the pictures of the truck, status on the truck, looking pretty good.
Yeah, it actually is looking really good. And, and some of the pictures might look like there's not been a lot of change, but if you look into the details, there's a lot of work going on, especially the pump compartment. The pump compartment, they've got it completely plumbed. They've got it wired. They've got diamond plate going on. And then we got the elf on the shelf that's overseeing it all.
I love it. I love it. That was
So
the best part.
the original intent was when I sent them, that was just throw it in maybe one or two pictures and it'd be like, where's Waldo? But boy, they're really going full on and he's in every picture.
Yeah, yeah.
Other questions or comments? Thank you, Chief. We'll stay in touch. I'll see you
Thank you.
when you get back.
Enjoy your trip.
Who's Chief Dutra? Oh, boy, the police. Here you go. You got the hot seat.
Warm. So I don't have a presentation ready for this meeting. I know I promised it to you last time, but I had a family emergency to go deal with, so I didn't get a chance to put it together along with all of my other projects, but stay tuned. I'll definitely bring that to you, hopefully at the next one, if not. following. But anyway, so the detective applicant that we had for the position pulled out, so we're re-advertising that position, and we'll leave it open until it's filled. Next week, I'll be participating in the Guys Read program, which, you know, I talk about every year, and I participate in every year, and I encourage everybody to participate in as much as you can. There's also a Gals Read, so those who are interested in reading to the fourth graders, it's available, and I can get you that information if you're interested in signing up. But we go and we read to the fourth graders, and we encourage them, especially boys at that young age, you stop reading about that age. So by bringing in mentors to the schools, we get to read to them and encourage them to read. So I'll be doing T. Brown and Midnight Sun next week. So I'm excited about that program. Lieutenant Smith is working on some grant funding for some ballistic shields for our patrol. I know last year y'all approved our active shooter response stuff. So we got all that stuff in. And now the next piece would be ballistic shields, which are they're foldable and they're pretty cool. They're 3A level ballistic panels, so they can go into an active shooter situation with a shield and stop bullets from striking officers, or at least hopefully they're not 100%, but they're better than nothing if you have to go to a hot zone. So working on that, it's a pretty cool little grant program they have through Firehouse Subs. So we're excited for that. Detective Lockwood is in Alabama working to close up a case, final case on our baby homicide case. It's linked to that same case. He's making some progress there. Lieutenant Smith and I met with local emergency responders and had a good discussion about updating local procedures on active killer and mass casualty events. We did a working group was established, and Chief Heineken was there as well. Pretty excited about that. It's long overdue. It's something that needs to be updated, and it's going to be a lot of work moving forward, but definitely worth it. I gave you the stats for 2022. Although, for the most part, we saw some upticks and some activity. I think for the most part, crime is down. There are some concerning areas such as sex offenses that were up twice, 6. That's a lot. And for those victims, obviously it's not a good number, but still relatively small, although any at all is bad. There was an uptick in some disturbances, but one that was concerning too is the DUIs. When they start getting above 40, we start to see 40 and 50 arrests for DUI. That gets back into those levels that we saw when I first got here. So it's concerning. As long as it stays below 50, it's not bad.
Are these DUIs under the alcohol, or are they under like marijuana and other drugs? Anything?
Any DUI, yeah. As you can see, the uptick in calls for service, a lot of that's related to traffic stops. We had the traffic officer implemented this year. It definitely saw an uptick in traffics and citations, and that always makes an impact on those numbers. So the overall uptick in calls for service is 4801, which is up from 3942. So the only negative about that is it affects our next year's dispatch contract, because those averages start to go up. We get affected by calls. That's another sore subject for me, but we'll get into that another day. A lot of those are attributed to traffic stops, not necessarily actual calls for service. Anyway, that's kind of that in a nutshell. You can see by the diagram on the next page, it's a lot of the crimes of part 1, part 2 crimes were relatively stable. And again, most things in this, as you see, did trend down. I like that. Next, I have to discuss with the mayor. We came up with last week with discussions with Heineken and some of the PERS stuff and the CFO about the Chino Lakes contract. And we think we might have a solution in moving that to a seasonal position. I have to discuss that with the mayor, and we'll talk about what sort of wage we may offer for a seasonal officer to work the Chino Lakes, and then come to council with a final determination on that. But that may be our best avenue to get out of the hiring crunches that we're in, and we could have a flexibility to go between either or depending on manpower levels. So I think it's exciting. So it's an exciting option, and give Chief Heineken credit for coming up with that one. So good to have him on the staff. So keep posted. CTC, if you're not familiar with that, that's the Academy, Police Academy, the Interior Academy of the university. That's being spooled back up again. Looks like they're going to have a class in March. That's exciting because we did pull a lot of recruits from that academy over the years. We sent a lot of people to that academy. It is much nicer to have that academy local, And so when we hire folks, they don't have to get shipped off for 4 months to Sitka or Anchorage, which causes expenses. So I'm excited about that. I think it sounds like things should be moving in the right direction with that. We have 2 officers heading to Sitka for the Recert Academy. That's Officer Bloom and Officer Chernos will be going down there to get their in-state certifications. They have to go to a 2-3 weeks recert when they come in from out of state with a police certificate. They have to, police training from another state. They got to go to the Recert Academy to get the Alaska laws. So that's all I got.
Chief, I have a few questions and concerns. Now, talking about Chena Lakes, is that a memorial to Labor Day, or is it even a little longer than that? Is that 1 May through
May 1, September 30.
September 30th? It's a pretty long period, you know. And how many years are we on that contract with them through?
Yeah, this year will be first year of 4.
First of 4. Okay. We got to really sidestep that issue, don't we?
Well, for police staff, and it's generally not an issue, but and it's nice to have that extra officer on patrols for backup, for calls. If something happens inside the city, they're on duty in the swing shift hours, which is really nice to have that extra body. So it's got a lot of benefits, but this seasonal option may be a good thing for us when we're lower staffed, and then when it's for fully staffed, it wouldn't be an issue.
Yeah. I can say that I don't like the idea of us going to 12-hour shifts. That's why I want to see it seasonally staffed till we get back up on staffing here. And then I was noticing in the paper that one of the lieutenants on FPD had gone to Quantico to FBI School for Leadership and Organizational School. Will we ever consider, maybe not this year, but once we're back to being staffed, sending Lieutenant Smith there?
His application's in,
It
and
is?
he's going to go. Regardless of when his option comes open, I'll go back on patrol to make sure he gets
Would you?
a chance to go. So
When is he, for this year or for next year?
So there was a selection process that was done. He missed that just because the hiring times, he just barely missed the cutoff. So they sent out a new round because they didn't fill the slots for next year and the year after. So we'll find out hopefully soon when they start to make the selection for that second round
Yes.
that they'll consider him into that round. So he could find out here next couple months.
Okay. And then finally, for our vacant lieutenant position or any vacancies we have in the future, you might explain to the council what incentives you think we ought to be offering, if any, to try to bring people in from outside the 100, 200-mile radius of here.
That's my secret presentation.
Yeah. Okay.
Can we hold it till the presentation for the surprise, sir?
Yeah, sure.
Okay.
I just.
I don't want these other department heads to steal my thunder.
Yeah, I'm just thinking in those realms that we may have to resort to something of that.
Yes, and I
nature.
know Chief Doopy's watching, so we have
Well,
to
yeah.
be
well,
careful.
Yeah, we're not going to grab him. Thank you very much. Any questions for Chief Dutra? Yes, Mrs. Welch. Yes. Oh, you were first. Just speak up when I don't see you. Just say, Mr. Mayor. That's
Okay,
very simple.
for CDC in the police training and stuff, do you know who's going to be doing that?
Her name was on the tip of my tongue.
Oh, it is
The
her?
director.
Yeah,
I'll remember and
Okay.
I'll get back to you. But yes, a nice, accomplished, police officer.
Officer.
Yeah, she's got
from
many
around
years.
here or from
She's from
outside?
North Slope.
Okay,
Yeah, she's,
right.
got quite a distinguished career, so she's got good experience, and I think it'll be a good program.
yeah. Well, I'm familiar with the program because I used to work there and I took care of most of the officers that came through. So that's why when you mentioned it, I was quite familiar with the program. So I'm glad they did bring it back. And I believe the gentleman who was doing it was Mr. Henry or Officer Henry. But he would always come in and check on the officers and stuff through the business office and the registrar's office at the UN. Yeah, but it is a very good program.
Good to have a local.
Yeah.
Mrs. Welch seems to be next there.
So, Chief, I was wondering if the DUI numbers is in part due to the fact that you've had more people out there actually patrolling or doing traffic stuff, stops. Does that in part give us an idea about they've all been out there all the time, but you guys just haven't caught them in the past, is what I'm.
Generally speaking, yes. So when
Yeah.
you have an uptick in traffic enforcement, you tend to find more DUIs. but I can't say for sure that they correlate. I didn't look at that, but whether they were call-ins or actual findings, they found them. So I could do a deep dive on those numbers to find out if we were interested. So
It was just an observation. The other thing I'm kind of curious about, how do you deal with people and vehicles that are there's no doubt in my mind that the people inside are smoking things that they shouldn't be smoking while driving. How do you deal with that? And how can you take that from the point of you being able to detect that to being able to maybe get them for a DUI? I'm thinking about marijuana in this case.
Drug recognition, I would imagine. You're talking about.
yeah, I mean, if you're asking what the process is, I mean, it's like any other stop, there's got to be probable cause. You have to reasonable suspicion based off your observations, your smell, your sight, and things like that. But it's not illegal to possess it. So if you smell it, and it's difficult sometimes to determine that they're smoking it right then. And then again, it's observations of the driver, impairment, and then further developing probable cause with that impairment through tests. So then they would have the person exit the car and test them, and then if they don't pass those tests, then they can get that, then they can have the arrest for DUI. And sometimes when it's drugs like that, they have to have a blood draw done within a certain period of time of the stop. So
I'm
it's
just
more complicated.
the reason why I'm asking is that I come across quite a few vehicles when I do front duty at my school, and it's like you open the door up and it's like it just comes at you like a wall. I mean, for me, it's a worry about, is that person impaired to drive within my parking lot and where the kids get off and on and stuff like that. So
So I'm clear, that school is not inside the city limits, right?
not here.
Okay.
It's in town. It's in Jacobson's town. So
Jacobs. Any other, Mr. Jacobson's town? Yeah.
Chief, just for clarification, when you mentioned the term seasonal officer, is that what you referred to last council meeting to contract a retired officer to do that?
Yeah.
Chino Lakes.
Yes, we
assignment?
were thinking about maybe converting it, see if we can do a non-PERS, but I think a seasonal works perfect. We don't have to don't jump through any hoops. We have to change anything, any structure. We can just put out this particular work duty as a seasonal, so that we hire an officer that's just as qualified. So they would have to be recently retired within the last 4 years, and we can deal with certification lapses and things like that through council, standards council. But generally, if someone's retired within his 6 months separation, they can come back and do this gig for, May through September, and then, not have to worry about PERS or healthcare and, all those other things that we're saddled with now. So, yeah.
Okay, great. And do we have a volunteers in policing program here?
In Fairbanks, but not here. We have reserves. We have a couple of reserves. We have Nils and Lance, who both do reserve functions for us, but no actual reserve patrol officers.
And would they ever be able to do the Chino Lakes contract being a reserve officer?
A reserve officer could, yeah, if they were qualified. The thing is that most of those standards are, we changed it many, many years ago. We changed that standard to equal what an officer is. So we don't have, we've had talks about changing that up and having someone come on board that has less, or that's working towards qualifications that hasn't been established yet. But currently, they're required to have the same qualifications as one of us. So,
Okay. Thank you, Chief.
Chief, would those be 410s they would work?
yes,
Okay. From 10 in the morning to 8? Or I can't remember that.
those hours have some flexibility. I think
Yeah.
between 10 and noon. And they can work with the core managers to flex that depending on what's going on at the core.
Okay.
Lots of functions happening out there. So.
Any other questions or concerns for Chief Dutra?
Yes, one question.
Yes.
The gentleman that was getting ready to come on board, did he say why he didn't want to come?
I asked and he did not.
He did not. Okay.
And just so that we'll know, as of this date, what's the state of the officers on patrol now? If you can forecast between now and May 1, again, just reiterate how many we expect to have come May 1st. How many we authorized,
May-
how many do you think?
May
we have?
1st, we could be at 5 patrol,
And we're authorized 8?
9.
9. Okay, ooh, that's getting serious. Okay, that's 9. It's almost, but not quite half. Okay. Any other questions or concerns? Thank you, Chief. Appreciate it. Madam Clerk, who's next? Yeah, I do. Madam Clerk, I couldn't hear you, so you pull your
Sorry.
microphone down. Hello, Ellie.
Ellie.
Hello. Good evening, everybody. Thank you for allowing me to attend via Zoom for the remainder of my lovely excursion here. I've been working really hard with Trish and them and her department to finish up the insurance aspects that went out with the W-2s for this last year, the notification, so that people knew what they had and when they had it. I also finished up a majority of the job descriptions. I have 2 left to fine tune. Thank you to all of the department heads who worked hard on that to help me get that in place and finished. We've also finished, I've started and almost completed to provide to the mayor for evaluation, the director's employment evaluations, which I'm very happy to say that those are going to be getting started, and I've been and then I'll be working with the departments that don't currently have those in place to get those started for their staff. Other than that, I believe the mayor mentioned earlier about I did discuss with him on Friday, along with reinstituting, because my understanding is this used to be done regularly, the recognition for staff of years of service. There will be 2 in February, one from Danny's department and one from Chief Dutra's department. So I'm excited for those 2 people. The next one won't be until June when I come back. And then that's pretty much all I've got at the moment, if anyone has any questions for me.
Thank you, Ellie. Anyone questions or concerns for Ellie? Thank you very much. I don't see any. Thank you for your report. Madam Clerk, I think you're next.
Okay, good evening, everybody. So I do have an update for you for the website. We are actually in our final stages. It should be done in the next month, actually. We are moving into the CMS phase, which is the compliance phase. After that, it's going to go into quality assurance, and then they'll finish up the migration for the site. So it should be up and running in probably estimated about 4 to 5 weeks. So that's super excited. I'm very excited about that. I have been working with Prax's office for the CAPSA system and making sure that all of our legislative priorities are all uploaded into that. So I've been working on that. And then earlier today, I sent you guys an AML winter meeting reminder with the dates in February. If you would like to attend the AML winter meeting, which is in Juneau, let me know by Friday if you would like to do that. The dates are going to be the 22nd through the 24th, and that's a Wednesday through a Friday. So if you'd like to go to that, get with me, and we'll start making some travel arrangements. And that's all I have.
Any questions or concerns for the clerk? Thank you, Madam Clerk. I appreciate it. Now we go to the Borough Rep, which I believe is Mrs. Welch.
Yeah, that would be me, and I attended last Thursday via Zoom. And the first thing that was up for discussion was the fact that they pulled an ordinance from the consent agenda, which was about the election in Pleasant Valley, 2 Rivers Fire Service area. And they wanted to nix that election that they had out there for establishing a fire service. There was robust discussion, if I can say so. Most of the people spoke for this particular ordinance, that they want to have a redo of their election because they think that there was some bad information given out, wrong dates given for when the election was happening, and a few other things. With all the people that were there talking before the meeting started, and again when it was more public comments, they managed not to get to it in the first place, so they will deal with that the next time. But there was so much debate on it and so much heated discussion on it. It was quite interesting. The meeting was quite long that day. The school board was the next one that came up, and the most important part of that was they're deep in the search for the new superintendent. The public has had a chance to give their input on what kind of questions we like to do. They expect to have it listed down or cooked down to about 4 people that they are going to invite to come either in person or via Zoom to have some serious discussion with the local people and the school board. There was an ordinance on trail easements, and it came down to the thing that what they wanted to do was saying that they did not want to have the if there was a large piece of property that had a trail easement on it, they wanted to make sure that if the property was divided later on, subdivided, for example, a family that owned 100 acres and they want to give 25 acres to 4 children, that if there was that easement, then that would become law that it was there, and that easement would be permanent, even if it was a temporary easement for right now, if it wasn't on the books. And there was, they wanted to change something on that. Unfortunately, that did not pass to the regret of some council people. The other parts on it, what else did they do? They did pass an ordinance amending being able to spend money. They appropriated $4.4 million in federal pass-through grants for the voluntary removal and replacement repair of the wood stove exchange, but they also turned it in that they can now go from heating oil to gas or propane conversions. So there will be, again, money for that, for people who have that issue with having not so efficient and polluting devices out there, and they can now come back in the thing with the money. So the program will open back up again sometime in the future. What else did they have on here? And there was also an issue with they want to spend about $1 million to figure out how they're going to heat the Hutchinson High School. I know we have people from here in North Pole have their children go to that program out there. And it's not because the Hutchinson has an issue, but it's because the university has problems with their steam pipes in the ground. So they'll have to figure out. So they decided to postpone that. So the university made a decision on what they were going to do, because they own another building, the old elementary school down below the university. So therefore, they're also supposed to figure out what they're doing. So it would make sense that we don't jump on spending $1 million. So they decided to get some more information on that. So they were trying to have wise use of the money. Nolween Library is going to be updated. Construction is going to be starting pretty soon. That is at $2.4 million, give or take a few $100,000 there for upgrading that area. And the librarians and people from the library fund was really excited about this, because they were telling us that every day they have about 75 youth that come and use that, and they don't really have good facilities for it. So they're going to do a renovation in some areas and get everything in there, but provide more programs and more space to utilize better for those young people. And that's not talking about regular patrons. That's talking about all the other people on there that come in after school. So it's like kind of an after school program, like that. So it was pretty nice. There was a big support for that. So that passed. The other thing there's one other thing here I was gonna let you know about. Yeah, there was also a thing talking about building a new animal shelter And also the permission for the mayor to buy a piece of property for that. They did not get to that because they thought there was going to be too much discussion on it. But by the time we got finished, it was like midnight. So like that, because, so they advanced that to another time, but there was people that spoke in favor of that. So if people are interested in getting proper facilities to do that, we definitely do that. Oh, by the way, with the wood change outs program for the wood stoves and that, they also have 2 new hires, full-time equivalents to be able to administer and oversee that program. So, and that's it.
Any questions for the borough rep? I see none. Thank you for your report. That finishes all of our department heads and the borough rep. Madam Clerk, is there anything for item 10, ongoing projects report?
We have the committee signups.
Okay, can you display those for us? This is just for discussion purposes. We can manipulate this around as we see fit, and we can also finalize it the next time we meet as well. See how there's 2 council members not here tonight. Mr. Cromer and Mr. Keller are in absence. So I do kind of want to just use this as a working sheet, if anything. That's all it was meant to be. So,
Mayor,
yes, sir.
I would recommend that we add as a placeholder, Larnita Skips on the bed tax committee so that that she could be considered for that service. Obviously, there will have to be a reduction of someone else for that, but
I don't have any problem with that. As a matter of fact, what I'd like to do is maybe designate someone to be an alternate, like you could put an asterisk next to Ina Welch's name. She could be an alternate because I have seen that 2 years in a row in 18 and 19, where for whatever reason, the council member that was supposed to be there forgot, even though they were reminded. So when you, and sometimes things happen. So that was part of that, was to have an alternate there. So that would be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That's probably one other person could be an alternate if necessary as well. I know that we didn't know what was happening with Wanda until today when the clerk called her. She wasn't responding back to us. So there's a reason she's on there too. It's what the owner of the hotel wanted years ago. That's why she's on there, by the way. Anyone else that's sitting in here want to be an alternate? Ms. Welch can be in the remarks column over there as an alternate if you want. And someone else could possibly be an alternate. You know, I think that's good enough. Did you say you had some ideas of people for ethics?
yes, I reached out to some individuals that I know, and they were interested in that. They live over in Stillmeyer Estates. It's either the husband or the wife, the Ekmans. Paul Ekman is an engineer for DOT, and his wife works for one of the local dentists here in North Pole.
Can you provide that to the clerk?
Yes,
with
I
their
could do that.
contact information.
I will do that.
And I probably need one other person, even if that person's an alternate.
Right.
The other's timed out that we had on there. And I'm worried about if Isaacson's house sells, he will not be living
Right.
here once his house sells.
I'll keep shaking the bushes there to come up with some more
Okay.
names.
Thank you. I've been doing it and I've struck out. What's next on that list though, Madam Clerk? For those who don't know this, I don't have a list in front of me. I'm dependent upon that up there because I can read it.
Mr. Mayor, I have a question
Yes.
on your economic development. What is that actually entailing?
Well, it's trying to develop and bring new business here and take care, most important thing is take care of people that currently have businesses, to understand what their challenges are and how they feel about the environment that we provide, because the city can't run their business for them, but the city's got a requirement to provide a safe, clean, effective running city for them to run their businesses in. But it's also to bring new business here. We actually had an economic development authority back in '07, and person who's dead now, Buzz Otis, was the first chair of that. And so, and it met every other month. And it was a paid position, by the way. And it started at 33,000 plus benefits. I'm not necessarily that we have to go there. And are you familiar with FEDCO, Fairbanks Economic Development Corporation? So that's what Fairbanks uses, and somehow the borough. We could join up with them. They've always told us that we could. But right now, we just haven't had that. Anton said he'd like to be on that. So, and Howard Rixey told me tonight he'd like to be on it.
Okay, and so my question to you on all this that I'm seeing before me, a description, I think would probably be fair to ask for a new member.
Yeah.
What a description would be for all of these listings that you have and the requirements.
Well, we have a
And-
lot of those in code. Some of it is like the, for example, the borough rep is in code. So is the, and so the other part would be if
Ethics has.
ethics is in code. The code violations is definitely
Is
in
in
code.
code,
Yeah.
right?
Madam Clerk, you keep scrolling back and forth. Memorial Park is something that we do, which you've already see who's on that.
Right,
It's me, the police chief, the fire chief.
right.
What are we passing up that she's scrolling back and forth? So code violation, we have enough people on that as it is. So economic development, pretty much just what it says. I'm sure that we have enough history on how it was a real committee.
Right.
And then I don't know, who knows when it went away? And I know it went away after I left the council in 15. It was no longer under Bryce Ward. Somewhere in his time, he disbanded it. I don't know why.
Okay.
I'm not privy to that. And the borough rep is just what it says. They go to the borough meeting. They represent the views of the city.
Yeah, that part I understand, but
Yeah.
I'm just saying, like, I'm looking at that, I'm seeing development, and I wasn't quite for sure what you're asking on development. And then I'm also asking, how many bodies are you trying to put in each slot that I'm seeing up there?
Well,
Is what I'm also going for.
it'd be
get a
nice in
better
economic
understanding.
development. I think we have enough commitment from the council, but I need to have more people from the business world.
Hmm.
And the one person I want to talk to just came back tonight, so I haven't had a chance to talk to him. He's the penultimate business owner in this town. I would like for him to be on it. And, I'm talking, I'll just be straightforward, I'm talking about Benny Lynn.
Right.
And so he wants to talk to me about it, but he's not available. He just came back tonight for his 3-week long vacation. And I'm looking at what else is on there. What do you see? And I said, the one thing that we don't have that I mentioned that would be nice is a housing task force.
That, and then Jacobson mentioned on a committee to honor the workers
Yeah, and I think we would do that with
appreciation
HR.
committee.
We
Yeah,
would do
so
that
those-
with HR, and that would be, to me, that would be the staff directors to work with HR straightforward. That's what I'm asking Ellie to do,
Mhm.
is to help develop that with each of us, because it's their job. I mean,
Right.
that's their job to identify their employees that are making an outstanding difference. And one way we're doing it, Chief Dutra, do you mind coming back to the microphone, just so you'll understand how that works? Even though he's going to announce it, who is the officer that's going to get a quality within grade increase there, effective January 29th, but you're going to announce it on January 25th?
Taking away the surprise.
No, I thought you already had.
No, I'm
He
not
doesn't know
announced
that.
it.
Okay, but he doesn't have to say it till then.
Thank you.
So in our February 6th meeting, he'll announce it.
Announce it.
But he's actually taking someone who's gone above and beyond.
Mhm.
So they'll get a 2-step increase.
Right.
For making such a difference. in the police department. So we do have that, by the way,
Okay.
so we're just exercising it. So I'm not sure you have to have a separate committee for that. However, it would be nice, as Councilman Jacobs has said, to do that on a monthly or very least a quarterly basis. At the very least. What do you think, Jeff?
I agree with either monthly or quarterly. I just thought to formalize the employee recognition committee would give it some chance to be more consistent and happen and also then develop some criteria that would be applied across the board. And then I was served on that employee recognition committee for the borough when I was the chief of staff, and it was very well programmed, and there are different ways of nominations and tracking people who were nominated and recognizing them. And it was a very motivational experience for the employees to be recognized, and sometimes it was a surprise that their peers had acknowledged them, and also gave very detailed descriptions of why they received that recognition. And it just built really positive morale and camaraderie. And I just think that'd be a great thing for our employees. And so that's why I asked that we perhaps have a employee recognition committee formed, which involves probably mostly city employees and then perhaps a city council member. And I'm throwing my name in that hat. Doesn't have to be me, but that's just a kind of a passion.
And when I look at some of our departments, they're so small that if you did a monthly thing, somebody would be in there 4 times a year. Somebody could be there every month of the year for that matter, but quarterly would make more sense on the size of our staff, of our employees groups.
I agree.
Quarterly would be more like it. So that's what I want our HR generalist to deal with the staff first and foremost. And then if we need to bring somebody in on that, we'll do that. Thank you.
One of the things that, I'm sorry, through the
Go ahead.
chair.
Yeah.
That Chandra brought up, and I think would be very helpful on the city of Fairbanks webpage when it talks about committees. There is a brief paragraph that kind of explains the function of that committee. And since we have some of these already in our code, we could take some of that language from the code and do a paragraph description and then refer to the code itself. And for those committees that don't have that are not in the code, again, just come up with 2 or 3 sentence paragraph that kind of summarizes that. I think that would be very helpful in the recruiting of new members, and also explain to the community at large when they go on our website what are the roles of these committees, and perhaps how they can get involved themselves on that. So I would encourage that city clerk work on coming up with some paragraph information for each of the city committees.
As well as having out there a request from any citizen who wants to include themselves on that they contact the clerk to be given more information how they can apply.
There are application forms, I know, both for the city of Fairbanks and the borough, where residents can fill out an interest to serve on a committee, and then that's kind of kept as a backup file when there's vacancies or a need to fill those positions.
Because, excuse me, on that, I think what it is, what I'm seeing is our public doesn't feel as though we're reaching out enough to get them involved. And I think the way that we would go about it is, like I'm saying, to put out what is actually on the committee and what we're looking for them to be added. You made mention to Mr. Skip's wife being part of that helpfulness.
Yeah.
And in order to do that, you also got to feel welcome and warm to do that.
She was a big
And so-
person on the festival committee when I was.
Right, and that's what I'm saying is.
Yeah, so I
is-
recognize her for that.
Right, but with that, people still have to have that feeling that they are welcome and wanting to be involved. And when they're being cut down or not acknowledged, it makes it difficult to want to continue. So that's why I asked earlier for you to break down what you had for them to do.
Where I go with that is, here we are talking about recognizing our employees, but like North Pole Community Chamber of Commerce, they're recognizing, matter of fact, Ms. Skips is one of the persons they're recognizing, but they're going to announce it in February because they're choosing the pioneer. They're pioneer. They have 4 areas: the businessman, their own community chamber of commerce, their citizen, which she's a citizen, but there's a pioneer
Mhm.
that wasn't available. So they're going to announce it all February 24th, I think,
Mhm.
something like that.
Mhm.
But so that would be a thing so that they know that they were in the eye of the, not just the council, but the community.
Right,
That's what I'm saying. Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
What's next? Madam Clerk, where are we going to?
We're on new business.
Was consented.
New business?
Sorry.
I can't hear you,
Unfinished
Madam
business
Clerk.
was-
Yes, we're on new business.
Okay. So,
North Pole Fire Department request to proceed with pre-design of the new fire station. That they requested that we authorize the approval of expenditure of funds to hire that firm to do the pre-design.
Chief, you got it, the microphone again.
Yep, so as most of you know, we've been looking at the different options for renovating or building a new fire station. So we do have the master plan that was developed 2 years ago to renovate and expand the current fire station. And what this proposal is asking is approval to have Johansson Wing Architects develop a plan for a standalone fire station that would be on the same grounds that we currently occupy now. This kind of came together as a different option rather than expanding our current station. We realized that if we built the standalone station, it would leave the current fire station available for city use. And we all know that it's not just the fire department that is desperately needing space. All of the other departments within the city need it. So the prospect for this plan is that if we could build a new fire station, it would leave the old fire station for Public Works to possibly move into. So this is just a request to get them started because of the value of it is $26,800 needed to come to council to be approved.
At this point, I would ask, is there anyone, Madam Clerk, citizens that want to comment on this?
Not that I'm aware of.
Say again?
No.
Okay, so citizen comments closed. So does anyone want to query any more the fire chief on this issue? If not, can I get someone to propose that we put forth and approve this request?
Move to authorize the request to fund pre-design of the fire station by awarding this to Johansson Wing Architects for the sum of $26,800. $26,800.
A second.
So I'm
Clack.
looking to one side and I don't know who said what first. It doesn't matter.
Clack.
Clack, yeah. And just for your edification, so people will know this, I always say this. For a second, it doesn't really require your name. I don't know if you know, it's the maker whose name is required, but you are the maker and Clack seconded. So any more discussion? Seeing no more discussion. Do you want to all be sponsors on this?
Yes.
Okay, so we'll add their names, Madam Clerk. If you'll add the names of the people who are present tonight as sponsors of this. And Madam Clerk, do you want to call that?
Sure.
Please.
Mr. Skips,
Yes.
Mrs. Welch,
Yes.
Mr. Jacobson,
Yes.
Mrs. Clock,
Yes.
Mr. Mayor.
Yes. I don't believe anybody here is going to change. So that goes through 5-0 there and names will be added. And then we'll ask for item B, Chief Dutra to come forward. For item B, the request to purchase the new patrol vehicles.
So as with every year, we request in the budget of the council to approve a purchase of vehicles. And this last budget cycle, you approved for us to purchase 2 vehicles. So each year we try to do our due diligence and find the least expensive, most value we can for our money. So in this case here, we searched high and low, and I think we did a good job seeking out bids for vehicles. Since these purchases are under the $50,000 cap, we did our due diligence and sought 3 bids. And the 3 bids that we came up with, one was from Kendall Ford in Anchorage for a 2023 Explorer as a 46,420. And we sought for a bid from another local dealer, and we did not get it. We also asked for some bids from a company called Dana Safety from California, where we've been purchasing vehicles for the last several years. And they gave us two quotes, one for a Dodge at 43,304 and an Explorer, Ford Explorer for 47,866. So the amount of money for these vehicles is fairly close. So we also take into consideration the cost of upfitting these vehicles and getting them shipped here and all the costs associated with that. So in our research, we realized the cost of outfitting the cars in Alaska, either in a local or in Anchorage, is significantly higher than outfitting them in a lower 48 and then having them shipped, or very comparable to a point where we're then making a determination on whether or not which is the best value of product that we get. And we've noticed that the quality of vehicles that we're getting out of California, out of Dana Safety, are far superior in many ways to the vehicles we're getting done in Alaska, either locally or through Anchorage. So what we're asking the council to approve is not the overall cost of the vehicles, including the equipment. We're just asking for the purchase of the vehicles, which will occur rather quickly, and then we can get those vehicles slotted for outfitting. So the proposal in front of the council is for you to authorize us to purchase 2 vehicles at the price of $43,304 each from a company in California called Silsby Ford. Excuse me. It's Silsby Ford, but I think it's an actual Durango that we want to purchase.
Dodge Durango,
Dodge Durango from, yes, but,
not from Dana.
okay. No.
In your letter, you said Dana.
So I corrected this in the committee of the whole, but I didn't correct it in my comments right now. Silsby and Dana Safety are really the same company. Dana not same company. Dana purchases their cars from Silsby. Silsby then sends them to Dana. Dana outfits them. So the cars, both the Ford and the Dodge, were both bid from Silsby in California. So my apologies. So basically I'm asking for a Silsby Dodge Durango at the price of $43,304.
Move to approve the purchase of 2 police vehicles.
I have to ask if there's any,
Oh, I'm sorry.
excuse me. Thank you very much. I'll ask for you in a minute. Madam Clerk, is there anyone wishing to give public testimony?
Nope.
Public testimony is closed. Now, can I get someone to go forward with this? Thank you.
Move to approve the purchase of 2 Dodge Durango police vehicles from
Silsby? Dana.
Silva Dana Company in California for the price of $43,304 each, approximately. Please correct it if I'm wrong, and I've said the wrong name.
So we had it motioned by Jacobson, seconded by Ms. Welch. Any discussion? Madam Clerk, I don't see any more discussion necessary. Just call the roll, please.
Yeah, Mr. Jacobson,
Yes.
Mrs. Clock,
Yes.
Mr. Skips,
Yes.
Mrs. Welch,
Yes.
Mr. Mayor.
Yes. Anyone wish to change? I see no one wishing to change. That
Now I
makes
thought I
that.
did.
Congratulations,
You're
Chief.
right.
Thanks for the
Exactly.
presentation.
Yeah.
So we go to item 13, council comments. Who's first, Madam Clerk?
Ms. Clock,
Nothing here. Everybody have a nice evening and a good week.
Thanks.
thank you. Mrs. Welch,
No comments tonight either.
thank you. Mr. Skips,
I also have no comments.
thank you. Mr. Jacobson,
Just wanted to thank again our employees who do every day a great job, and the time they take to put together their reports and updates for the council. I appreciate that very much. Also, I would like, perhaps if, I missed both the NBC show about North Pole and the Up TV show. So if it's possible, if somebody has that on their computer or the address on YouTube where that could be watched, if you could make that available for council members so that we can go back and catch those programs. I was interviewed by KTBF this week about the opening of Three Bears. And she said Julie Swisher, who was here training her replacement on the camera, will be sending out that link, and I'll make sure that the council and the mayor get to see that. And hopefully I said all the right things to her questions. And then also, all of us received, I think, an electronic invite from the Alaska Railroad, their celebration that will be on Monday night, January 30th, from 5:30 to 7:30 at the Railroad Depot. So I encourage other council members to confirm their attendance. I signed up for that because I love trains.
I have
So
too.
that should be fun.
Mr. Jacobson, I have too. So we'll be there.
Okay. And also, if we could possibly have a small trash can near the flag poles here, just so that we can kind of, I've got some mess here. Is there?
There's one over here by my side.
Oh. There you go. Now I can see it and I can get rid of my trash. That's all I have to say.
Thank you very much.
Hmm.
Who's next?
Mr. Mayor?
Oh, well, I'll just say real briefly that there's so many irons and so many fires, it's hard to separate the wheat from the chaff sometimes. And trying to keep the members of the legislature in touch with us and other government entities, because they're all being, it's like what I call bowling in reverse. Instead of having 2 balls to hit down 10 pins, they're like sometimes 1 pin and there's 10 balls rolling at them at the same time. And I think that's true of everyone, whether in the legislature, or the government's administration, if they're in our congressional delegation. It's very difficult to satisfy all these people all the time. It takes more coordination, and I don't know a better way of going out to tell you about it. In compartmentalizing it just in something as brief as the mayor's comments. So I don't know how the pro tem feels about this. At the time when Santa was just up the street, he used to come to the staff meetings to kind of learn what was going on. And that was the first and third Tuesday of the month. And we would do that. So I think, are we still, Madam Clerk, Tuesdays at 2 for staff meeting?
Yes.
Yeah, Tuesday. So you're welcome to come to those, Jeff, if you want.
And what time are they on those Tuesdays?
2 o'clock,
2 p.m.
Tuesday at 2.
Can you do a reminder, Madam Clerk, through an email?
Just put it in your calendar.
Yeah, I can do that. You
Okay.
you
Tuesdays
need
at
to make
2.
sure if you're gonna come though, you have to tell me. Because if we have so many people, so many council members attending, then I have to notice it.
Yeah, you
Okay,
can't
that's
just,
what I'm saying.
yeah.
If you could do it,
Yep.
then that way I can
Yeah.
let you know.
so
there-
that'd be one way.
There was one today, a staff meeting at 2, because it was the 3rd Tuesday of the month.
It's the Tuesday of the month before the meeting.
Before the meeting.
Before the week
first and
before the
third
meeting.
meetings. Yeah,
So it was last Tuesday.
last Tuesday we had a staff meeting.
Okay,
So
so
she'll
then,
send you a
for
calendar.
example, in February, it would be
It'd be a
Tuesday
January
the
meeting.
7th, and Tuesday the 21st. If it's
No,
first
that's
and
when the
third.
that's when the council meeting is. So it'd be the week prior to that, so
So it would be January 31st.
January 31st if you want.
Okay, so it's not the 1st and 3rd
No, it's for the
Tuesday.
first and third meetings. And so it's the
Ah.
week prior.
The week prior.
See,
So it's
we don't-
actually,
we no longer have a requirement to go out to help me, partner.
Advertising. in the newspaper.
Advertising with the news miner. So we hold the staff meeting without worrying about, did we meet their deadline? Because they're not publishing it in the state. They were sending it out anyhow.
If
So
the
we,
clerk could send that calendar
yeah,
for
she
me.
could just send you that calendar.
I'll make room in my
Yeah,
schedule to
right.
attend that.
Mhm.
Yep. I mean,
Just
That'd be
send it,
great.
but you can't have everyone from the council there because then we'd be violating the Open
Right.
Meetings Act.
Oh,
And so,
I
that
think-
would be
how
something
many
that the
people?
clerk can send to you. So I'd appreciate, Madam Clerk, if you'll make sure that Jeff gets that. And if there's council members that they understand that they have to contact you first. So, but it's a good time of day. I think it's good for our directors too. The second, Tuesday at 2 is the way we call it. Yeah.
So, for the Open Meeting Acts,
You can't have more than 3.
you cannot have more than 3, so
Cannot.
3 is the max, and
3 is
then
the
after
max.
3, you have to advertise it,
Yeah. Because 4 is considered a majority.
right?
5 is a super majority. So if there's a majority reached, it would have to be advertised that we're having that meeting, Same
Oh.
thing if you're having a workshop or whatever, it all has to be advertised when
So
we do that.
if you're in attendance and I'm in attendance and then Chandra is in attendance.
And you hit
that's
the max.
That's the max.
That's the max. That's
And then if
right.
somebody else wants to, then we just can one of us can drop out,
That's
Chandra
right.
or I,
That's
and
right.
and somebody else can attend, so. Stand outside. Stand outside.
Move to adjourn.
I wasn't finished with my comments yet, but I will go ahead and ask for item 14.
Move to adjourn.
Okay, we're adjourned now at time of 54.
Chief,
Thank you, Chief.
can I just email
you
you
got
that?
Yeah.
I
will.
S. Dutra, North Pole Police.
Aren't you efficient, man?